WOCA serves the Marion County area. This concludes the test of the Emergency Alert System.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Monday morning. One of the things that is often troubling is when you support something in an organization, and then you find out that organization is doing something that you're not necessarily in agreement with, and if you've been supporting that organization with money or as an investor, and it's a corporation, then what do you do? I mean, unless you've got a large hunk of the corporation, are they really going to pay attention to you if you have a disagreement on maybe something that they've done? And gosh, I can probably name only a few things that they might have done that could cause you to feel that way. So we have on the phone Andy Behar. He is the CEO of something called As You Sow, and that is a nonprofit organization dedicated to increasing environmental and social corporate responsibility through shareholder advocacy. And he's going to tell you about the book, The Shareholder Action Guide. And that book will tell you how to unleash your hidden powers to hold corporations accountable, even if you do just hold one share, for example. And it almost sounds hard to believe, doesn't it? Andy Behar, good morning, Andy. Thank you for waiting through the opening commercials and all that.
Good morning. How are you today?
Pretty good. Where are you calling from?
I'm actually in San Francisco, California.
Okay. Thank you for getting up early, by the way. Let's see. It's 10:09, so 7 o'clock in your time. There's a number of things that a corporation might become involved in that we say, oh my gosh, I own a part of that. And then you could write a letter, to the CEO, and it goes nowhere in most people's minds, right? Or does it do any good at all?
Well, it's not only if you see something that you disagree with, but it's also how do you make a corporation better? How do you make it more profitable? So because you're a shareholder, you own a share, or you may own many shares. How do you make it to be a better corporation? How do you make it align with your values is really what it's about. And you have a great deal of power that people don't realize, and that's what the book, The Shareholder Action Guide, is all about. It's explaining how do you do this, and also giving some stories, historical stories from the past, about people who have done this successfully.
Doesn't it depend on the CEO? I would imagine that some board of directors and some CEOs are more open to listening to the one shareholder person than other corporations. Am I right about that? Does it vary from corporation to corporation?
It does vary from corporation to corporation, but overall, corporations, they really want their brand to be what they spend a lot of money marketing their brand. So just give an example, McDonald's or Starbucks. Say Starbucks has a brand that's very, very green, yet they may have practices that aren't. And so, for instance, they were throwing away 3.4 billion paper cups every year. So we filed a shareholder resolution with them saying, you should really recycle these. They're totally good cardboard that could be reused for more paper cups. And it took a couple of years. We filed a resolution. We got a decent vote. And they looked at it and they went, well, our brand, we want that associated with recycling. And so that's why they started to do recycling in their stores. And that was... that's a simple example of how it can work.
To me and you, that sounds like a no-brainer. The fact that you had to start any movement at all, you would think that one person, that story, that one little kid who points out that the king is naked. It should only take one person to point out something that's obvious. But it sounds like in your case, you had to take a number of people and a number of years before you could resolve the problem.
Well, it's like another example would be electronic waste. So, companies were just throwing their electronic waste into the landfill, which is a lot of toxins in the waste. There's a lot of poisons in those, and it gets into the water and the air. So we filed resolutions with HP and Dell, and they said, this is a good idea, let's adopt this. And then we went and had an interesting conversation with Steve Jobs, which I talk about in the book. because he didn't like to listen to anybody. But eventually he came around and created what's called a greener apple, and now all those three companies have electronic waste recycling. And then Best Buy, you've probably been in a Best Buy where you see e-cycle. Bring your old VCRs, your old anything, and they recycle it. That was something that we suggested to them as shareholders. We said, this is a good idea. And it actually brings people into the brick and mortar store where they drop off their old equipment, and then they may buy something on the way out. All these things are good for the company. That's what's really critical that people don't understand.
Yeah.
You can actually make suggestions, and when you show up with essentially a better business plan, they're very open to it. Now, sometimes they're not. Sometimes when you're talking to, say, an oil company about how do you do practices that are less environmentally damaging, you're going to have a little bit more of a difficulty, but ultimately, we also want to see those companies thrive, and we see that they have some problems in their current practices.
Every time you say "we," I want to know: are you referring to we, the collective group of investors, or we, the group called As You Sow? Is that who you're?
As you sow, as in so shall ye reap, we've been around for 25 years, and we filed 50 shareholder resolutions last year.
Okay.
We're filing about another 50 this year. But I refer to all of the shareholders because if you own just one share, you can still vote on these proxies, these proposals that are put forth. If you own $2,000 worth of a company, you can actually write a resolution that will be voted on by all shareholders. And if you have mutual funds, which are like a basket of companies, so let's say you work at a company that has what's called a 401k plan, where you are investing part of your paycheck into your retirement. There's an awful lot you can do to choose the fund that is most aligned with your values.
And that's something I've thought about so many times, because you hear about different corporations that get involved in other things, even under different names. And so the corporate name isn't associated with the thing you're against, but you know it's still part of it.
Well, look, there's corporations that have just like massively overpaying their CEOs. That might be something that you care about, and you can actually vote to not approve the CEO pay package if it's 300 times what the average person at the company is making. Or political spending. You might want companies to disclose what they're putting money into in politics, just so you know. So all these things are on the ballot every year at the annual meetings, and you can vote on them. And it really does make a big change. It really does bring about change to these companies. So
if I wanted to file something against the corporation, would I go through As You Sow as a way to have leverage, or does the leverage come in the form of adding something that will benefit the corporation? It's really, if you write a good resolution and you file it, you'll find that there will be shareholders, big shareholders, pension funds, and different institutional shareholders that will agree with you and will vote for you. So you can get big votes. You can even get majority votes. And this happens commonly. A story I tell in the book is about a guy. He lives in Miami, and he owned shares of Florida Power and Light, and they were spending billions of dollars on this nuclear reactor right at sea level. And he's looking at it. In Miami, it's flooded all the time. And he just was furious. Why are you wasting shareholder money on this? So he wrote a resolution that said, this reactor is going to be underwater in 10 years. What are you doing? And just a normal guy who was incensed. And he got a 38% vote, that's a very big vote. So the company had to look at it and go, wow, 38% of my shareholders are saying this is a bad idea, that we're wasting their money, that will probably end up with a loss, that the reactor will never get completed, and it'll end up being written down against shareholders, against the value of his stock. So that's just one example of just an outraged individual who didn't have any affiliation with any of the many, many groups, and there are many groups who are filing shareholder resolutions as part of their investing plans. I wanted to tell you something. We had an interview with somebody who had filed a resolution against Monsanto. And what we learned in this interview, and I'm not an expert on it. I mean, I spent 25 minutes in an interview, and that's about it. I don't really have any expertise. But this is what I recall from that conversation. there were farmers in this world, and he specifically said India, who were not able to really survive anymore because Monsanto had made their seeds unable to produce plants that also produced seeds, that they had to keep going back to Monsanto to buy more seeds. And it became unprofitable for them. And so he wanted to get them to do whatever they needed to do, because it's like crazy for me to hear about a plant that produces a seed that doesn't produce anything. But apparently,
well, there's a big movement around seed rights, around that farmers for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years,
all of history,
have planted a crop for all through history and have put aside some of the crops to be the seeds for next year.
Right.
With Monsanto seeds, you cannot do that.
That's crazy.
It's not only, it's because they're genetically modified so that you can use Roundup, so you can spray glyphosate on them, and they're Roundup ready, they're Roundup resistant. And so it's illegal, actually. And many farmers, in the Midwest, if a GMO seed crop, if the pollen goes across onto their land where they're growing organic or non-GMO, they've actually been sued by Monsanto for stealing essentially the Monsanto patented seeds. So it's really quite an interesting issue, and there's been many people filing on this issue, and about the risk of having a monocrop, of everybody having one crop. If there's a blight, suddenly the whole food system is going to be wiped out. So there's a lot of issues around genetically modified crops.
Yeah, that is so huge compared to Starbucks, with the cups. I mean, they're both good examples of what you do, but the second one, the Monsanto one, do you know what the other? I have to take a break, and please stay with us through the break. But I think the thing that we all wonder, I'm sure I'm not alone in this, is how do we know which news to trust? There are websites like Snopes that supposedly set it straight for us, and I guess they do a pretty good job most of the time, but it's so hard to know. Andy Behar is our guest. He's the CEO of As You Sow, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to increasing environmental and social corporate responsibility through shareholder advocacy. And I want you to make sure you mention the book, Andy. It's called The Shareholder Action Guide, Unleash Your Hidden Powers to Hold Corporations Accountable. Really fascinating topic. We'll come back in just a bit. Take a little break. Got the weather and a few things. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. On this Monday, sunshine mixing with clouds. A nice start to the work week. High 77 to 81. Partly cloudy Monday night. Low 61 inland, 67 along the coast. For Tuesday, partly sunny and warmer. High 81 to 85. And on Wednesday, a nice warm day with a mix of sun and clouds. The high 82 to 86. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Next Generation MD is the future of healthcare now. Listen in the first and third Thursday at 10 a.m. to learn how the future in PRP treatments are here in our area. Find out the many ways that Dr. Juan Jordan, MD, Charles Brooks, NP, and case manager Mark Shaw have brought the family medicine practice to a new level. Hear from the very people that benefit from the fine work they have done in this field. Next Generation MD, every first and third Thursday at 10 a.m. here on WOCA 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, The Source.
Hey, I'm Gary.
And I'm Eric. Did you know that Red Eye Radio is on WOCA The Source every night from 2 to 6 a.m. and it's live?
That's right. No tape shows here.
We know that the news doesn't sleep.
And neither do we. So we're here with you live from 2 till 6 a.m. every weekday. Call us 866-90-RED-EYE. So join me, Gary McNamara.
And me, Eric Harley, every weeknight to discuss the latest in news and entertainment.
Right here on WOCA The Source.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
If you think you To be wealthy before you invest, think again. Palm Garden has invited Thomas T.C. Kogel of First Command Financial Services to be their featured speaker at Chats at the Garden on Tuesday, November 29th from 8 till 9 a.m. The public is invited to this free event where T.C. Kogel will talk about the 7 common mistakes investors make. The seminar is free and a continental breakfast will be served. For more information, call Palm Garden at 352-854-6262.
The entire world watched. They watched each step down the rungs of that small ladder, one after another, and waited with great anticipation for that last step.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
At that moment, humanity saw the impossible become the possible. And today, the sky is not the limit. Achievement. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
All right, 20 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. On the phone is Andy Behar, and he's written a book called The Shareholder Action Guide. If you've ever wanted to make a difference so that you can hold the corporations accountable for things that you don't support, or perhaps give them information simply that'll help make them more profitable, he says even as a small shareholder, you'll be able to accomplish that. Andy, again, just to re-clarify, does the leverage come from the nonprofit organization as you sow, or does it come from me as an individual?
Well, it's both. If an individual files a shareholder resolution, let's say you own $2,000 worth of a stock of any given company, you can file a shareholder resolution. It's got to be 500 words, and it's filed on a certain date, 6 months ahead of the annual meeting, and then all shareholders will be allowed to vote on it. So if, let's say, the big pension funds, the CalPERS, CalSTRS, New York City State, the big pension funds across Europe, there's $59 trillion in institutional money. If they say, you know what, that aligns with our mission, they will vote for it. And so you can get big votes even if you don't know those people, and so long as you write a resolution that really makes sense and is good for the corporation and is aligned with your values. It really comes down to, it's a very personal thing. Now, and as you saw, we're an organization. We're a nonprofit. We've been around since 1992, and we file a lot of these. So we do it in a very professional way. That's what we do for a living. So that's on a variety of issues. So climate change is a big issue for us, environmental health, a lot of food issues, antibiotics in meat. We filed with Wendy's and McDonald's and Burger King. And we're getting them to change, to actually take antibiotics out of meat. We work on issues around pollinators. There's a lot of insecticides that are killing the whole bee population. That's going to affect our entire farming system. Working on that. We work on human rights, on human slavery and human trafficking that are in the supply chain of many companies and many products that you might buy.
Really?
So, these are, oh yeah.
Can you give me an example of that? I mean, which corporations are involved with that?
Well, they might not even know that it's in their supply chain. So, for instance, there's a thing called conflict minerals. Those are minerals that are used in electronics, and a lot of it is being mined by slaves in the Congo.
Oh, I see.
And so
letting
them know that, and then having them report on where do you buy your tin, tantalum,
I got you. Okay.
gold.
All right.
They report that publicly to their shareholders, and so they're buying from the smelters. And same thing in the cotton industry. There's child slave labor used to harvest cotton around the world. So how do you know that it's not in your supply chain? Well, you verify it, and so you tell your shareholders and you tell your consumers. So there are companies that are doing a lot of really good things to disclose this information, and then others that just don't want to say anything. And so so that's really about disclosure.
The story you reminded me of was years ago with Kathy Lee Gifford. She had a clothing line, and she got into hot water because apparently slave labor was making the clothing. And I don't know if she knew it in advance or not. That's not what I brought it up for. But the one thing I wondered about when I heard that story was, can you change somebody's behavior when money is the guiding force? If the bottom line, does a corporation, okay, let's say you say, okay, we don't want any more slave labor picking cotton. So let's make sure all cotton is picked by people who at least get minimum wage, probably in the Carolinas or something, right here in America. And now the price of the garments goes up, and fewer people buy the garments. Does that come into? In other words, how do they deal with that? If
well, I'll explain it. So, for instance, we were seeing that the country of Uzbekistan, they were using child slave labor to harvest the cotton. So what we did is we organized and got over 200 brands.
Wow.
Walmart, Ralph Lauren, everything. Just you name it. Gucci to Walmart to Target, to sign a pledge that said we will not buy cotton that is harvested by child slaves. And so once they did that, then the government of Uzbekistan said, oh my God, we can't sell our cotton. They actually took the kids out of the fields. And that whole process took about 4 to 5 years to get everyone to sign the pledge, to actually present it, and for the Uzbekistan government to actually see the economic ramifications if they couldn't keep doing this. Now, did they sell it on the black market to someone else? Well, potentially, but they've actually moved the kids out of the field. So that made a big difference. With Kathy Lee Gifford, the question is, should she have been aware and asking the questions of those, of those plants where she was hiring in her supply chain? Should she have said, I want to see verification that you're not using?
Yes, right.
Oh, and that's the question. And that's what we ask as shareholders.
I love what you're doing.
Let's protect our brand. We want to protect our brand. I own shares of Walmart. I don't want Walmart's brand associated with these very negative activities, because it's going to hurt my stock price. So if you think of it like that, like you're trying to help the company to do better things and to be a better company. But the bottom line is, if no one is buying from slave labored cotton, then it's a level playing field, and it's going to make that not a good thing for the manufacturers to want to engage in.
I remember a story, Andy, that kind of shows a good light on the Disney Corporation. It was back in the 80s. This is when my son was a little kid. And there was a movement at that time for 1-900 numbers. And 1-900 numbers that were aimed at children, to call Santa or to call who knows who, And so there was this movement to get Disney to do it. And Disney said, nope, we're not. If you see it, I remember, because I did radio in those days, if you see a 1-900 number call Mickey Mouse, that is not Disney. And so they refused to become part of that, because apparently that made a lot of money back in those days.
Yeah, we actually worked with Disney on some issues where they didn't know certain things in their supply chain, and they actually went in and did verifications of all these factories. They did actually a great job.
Well, I love what you're doing. So, does the book give us maybe? Does it hold us by the hand and show us how to actually file the resolutions?
It does. The book is two things. One, it's really kind of short anecdotal stories about victories of the past. So, for instance, this story I told you about Florida Power and Light, a story about a priest who, he happened to have been a 2-pack-a-day smoker, but he challenged Joe Camel to stop selling cigarettes to children. So it's stories about how it's worked in the past. And then there's chapters that just take you on a step-by-step, how you do it, what you do, how you write it, where you file it. And then also how you become part of this. There's really a community of people who do this work. There's a lot of socially responsible investing companies that they file a lot of resolutions. And these are groups like Trillium and Walden Asset Management, Green Century. There's a lot of really good companies out there that are doing this. And we all work together, because you can't file the same company on the same thing, so you have to be very, very coordinated in the way it works. And how do you become part of that? And it's actually a very welcoming community.
I like what you're doing. I think a lot of times when we have a legitimate complaint about a corporation, the other side of that is going to fight because there's money. A great example is what's happening in the Dakotas with that pipeline through the reservation. I mean, you've got people coming on the air telling us now that, oh my gosh, you're not looking at all the facts. And it was, hello, what facts? I thought this was supposed to be their land. That's the only fact I really needed to know. I don't mean to bring something political into your coverage.
No. I'm in agreement. We actually have just filed last week. We filed with Wells Fargo Bank. We're about to file with Goldman Sachs. We're filing with the companies that are actually putting in the pipeline. We're filing about a half a dozen resolutions in coordination with, there's a whole group of shareholders who are filing these and saying, you know what, banks, you are loaning money to the companies that are building this, that are desecrating sacred land, and that you need to get your money out of that because your brand is going to be associated with, I mean, these are people defending their water, their sacred right to water, and they're being sprayed with water. You know, it's just, you like, look at it and go, it's just too much. Water cannon out there in 20-degree weather. So is this what you want the Wells Fargo brand associated with? I don't think so.
And so, thank you for what you're doing. And the cover of the book, it shows a Superman type of character, and that's exactly what you guys are. Thank you for what
we all have that power. We all have that power. We just need to understand it and really exercise it, because once you empower yourself, it's amazing the change you can do.
Andy, I'm up against the clock, but thank you so much for being on the air with us. Keep up the good work. Go to shareholderactionguide.org. That's the website I have. Thank you, Andy. We will be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. Wisconsin officials meet this morning to talk about details for a recount of the state's presidential votes. This as President-elect Trump claims voter fraud in a few states may have kept him from winning the popular vote.
Mr. Trump has provided zero evidence supporting either claim, and there's been no indication of any voter fraud. California's Secretary of State is calling his allegations absurd and